Look around you. Really look. Most of the people you will see today are going to wake up tomorrow and do the exact same thing they did yesterday. They will think what they are told to think, want what they are told to want, fear what they are told to fear, and they will call it a life. There is a name for a creature that moves only where the herd moves, that eats only where it is led, that follows the sound of the bell without ever once asking where it is being taken. It is called a sheep. And the most dangerous thing about becoming one is that you never feel it happen. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to hand over their mind. It doesn't work like that. It is taken quietly, one small surrender at a time, one swallowed opinion, one borrowed belief, one more day of going along to get along, until you look up one afternoon and realize you cannot remember the last time you had a thought that was actually yours. You have just been echoing the flock, bleeding back whatever the flock was bleeding. I want you to understand something before we go one step further. There are only two kinds of people walking this earth: the ones who are herded and the ones who refuse. The herd is comfortable. The herd is warm. The herd is safe, right up until the moment it isn't. And the ones who refuse, they walk a harder road, a lonelier road, but they walk it as themselves. By the time this is over, you are going to know exactly which one you have been, and you are going to know exactly how to become the other. So stay with me, because this is the day the bell stops working on you. Don't be the sheep. Chapter 1. The Comfort of the Herd. Let's start with the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Being a sheep feels good. That is why it works. If conformity felt like a cage, no one would step inside it. But it doesn't feel like a cage. It feels like belonging. It feels like safety. It feels like being accepted, being liked, being one of the group instead of the strange one standing outside it. The herd offers you a deal, and it is a seductive one. It says, stop thinking so hard. Stop questioning. Stop standing out. Just move with us. Believe what we believe. Want what we want. And in exchange, you will never have to be alone, and you will never have to be responsible for your own life. We will decide for you. Just follow. And most people take that deal. Not because they are weak, because they are tired and afraid and the deal is warm. But understand what you are actually trading away. When you let the herd think for you, you don't just lose your opinions, you lose yourself. Because a self is not a costume you wear. A self is built out of the choices you make, the lines you draw, the things you are willing to stand for when standing costs you something. Take all of that away, hand every decision to the crowd, and there is nothing left underneath. Just a body that moves when the herd moves. A voice that says what the herd says. You become a passenger in your own life, present for all of it, author of none of it. And here is the cruelest part. The herd does not love you for your loyalty. It cannot. The herd doesn't even see you. You are not a person to the flock. You are just one more body, making the flock bigger. The moment you stop following, it will close the gap where you stood and never notice you are gone. So ask yourself, honestly, right now, when was the last time you believed something because you examined it and decided it was true, and not because everyone around you already believed it? When was the last time you wanted something that was actually yours, and not something you were sold or shamed or pressured into wanting? If you have to reach far back for the answer, do not feel ashamed. Feel awake. Because the reaching is the first sign that some part of you was never fully asleep. That part is what we are going to build on. Chapter 2. The shepherd is not your friend. Here is something you need to understand, and understand deeply. You are being herded on purpose. Every day of your life, a machine is running. Its entire job is to keep you moving where it wants you to move. It doesn't use fences. It uses your own mind against you. And the most powerful shepherd ever built is sitting in your pocket right now. The feed, the scroll, the endless river of noise designed by some of the smartest people who have ever lived with one single goal: to keep your thumb moving and your attention captured. It floods you with the worst of the world: rage, fear, envy, panic, the horrors, the disasters, the outrage, all delivered straight into your nervous system, over and over, until you are too rattled and too scattered to hear your own thoughts. That is not an accident. A frightened, exhausted, distracted mind is an easy mind to herd, and a person who never sits in silence never hears the one voice that could set them free, their own. But the machine is not the only shepherd. There are people too, the ones who need you to stay small, the ones who feel threatened the moment you start to grow. Because your growth is a mirror they don't want to look into. They will pull you back toward the flock, and they will do it with a smile, and they will call it love. And they all use the same handful of tools to move you. Guilt, making you feel like a bad person for stepping out of line. Fear, making you believe something terrible waits for you if you leave. Belonging, threatening you with the oldest punishment there is, being cast out of the group. And flattery, the sweet words, the sudden warmth, right before they ask you to bend. Learn to feel these levers being pulled, because a lever only works in the dark, the moment you can name it, the moment you can say to yourself, this is guilt, this is fear, this is someone reaching for my leash. It loses its grip. You still feel the pull. You just stop obeying it, like it is the truth. The shepherd is not your friend. The shepherd does not want you free. The shepherd wants you fed, calm, and following, because a following animal is a useful animal. You were not put here to be useful to the herd. You were put here to be yourself, and you cannot be yourself while a machine and a crowd are pumping their thoughts into your head faster than you can think your own. So the first act of freedom is this: get your mind back. Put the phone down. Sit in the silence you have been running from, and listen for the voice underneath the noise. That voice is you, and it has been trying to get your attention for a very long time. Chapter 3. The sheep in the mirror. Now for the hard part, the part that separates the people who change from the people who just feel inspired for an afternoon and go right back to sleep. You have to be willing to look in the mirror and admit where you have been a sheep. Not them, you. Because it is easy to point at the crowd and call them the flock. It feels good. It feels superior. But the whole trap of the herd is that everyone inside it thinks they are the exception. Everyone believes they are the free thinker, while they follow along in perfect step with everyone else. So be braver than that. Look at your own life. Where do you shrink? Around whom do you go quiet? Swallow your real opinion. Laugh at the thing that isn't funny. Agree with the thing you don't believe. Just to keep the peace. Just to stay liked. Just to avoid the discomfort of standing out. That is the sheep in you. And naming it is not weakness. Naming it is the beginning of killing it. Understand how it happened, because it did not happen all at once. You were not born a follower. You became one, slowly, through 1,000 tiny surrenders you've never even noticed. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you buried what you really thought because the room wanted something else. Every time you made yourself smaller so someone else could be comfortable. None of those moments felt like much. That is exactly why they were so dangerous. Self-betrayal never sends you a bill you can see. It runs on credit. And one day the account comes due, and you wake up as a stranger to yourself, wearing a life that was assembled by everyone except you. You have worn the mask so long, you forgot it was a mask. You mistook the costume for your face. But here is the thing about a mask. You can take it off. The moment you admit you are wearing one, you have already loosened its grip. The person underneath is still there. Buried, maybe. Quiet, maybe. But there. Waiting for you to stop performing. Long enough to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. So stop performing. Even for a moment, especially when it is easier not to. Tell one true thing today that you would normally swallow. Hold one small line you would normally let slide. Say one honest no, where you would normally give a cowardly yes. That is how you climb out. Not with one dramatic gesture, with small daily acts of refusing to be the sheep in your own mirror. Chapter 4. Think for yourself. Here is a law you can carve into stone. A person who will not decide for themselves will always be decided for. There is no neutral ground. There is no waiting it out. Every time you refuse to make your own choice, the choice still gets made. By the crowd, by the loudest voice in the room, by whoever is willing to fill the silence you left empty. Indecision is not you staying safe. Indecision is you handing the pen to someone else and letting them write your life. And the herd loves an undecided person. It can smell it. The moment you are unsure of what you think, unsure of what you want, unsure of where you stand, that is the exact moment someone steps in with all the certainty you lack and steers you wherever they were already going. So you have to build the one thing the sheep never has, a mind of your own, a code, a set of things you actually believe that you examined and chose, not inherited and never questioned. Most people are running on beliefs they never once inspected, handed to them by their family, their culture, their feed, their friends. And they defend those beliefs to the death without ever having asked a single time, is this actually mine? Do I actually believe this? Or did I just absorb it, like the flock absorbs everything, and call it my own? Put your beliefs on trial, all of them. Keep what survives your own honest questioning. Throw out the rest. What is left is yours, and a belief that is truly yours can withstand a storm, because you know why you hold it. A borrowed belief cracks the moment. Holding it costs you something, because there was never anything underneath it but the habit of following. And once you know what you believe, decide from it. Take counsel from people wiser than you, yes. Listen, learn. But then go into the quiet room alone and make the call yourself. There is a difference between seeking counsel and seeking permission. Counsel makes you wise. Permission makes you a servant of the crowd. You will be wrong sometimes. Good. A wrong decision that you made and owned is worth more than a right one someone made for you, because the wrong one is yours, and it teaches you, and it builds you. The borrowed right answer teaches you nothing and leaves you exactly as dependent as you were before. The sheep waits to be told. The free man decides and stands. Be the one who decides. Chapter 5. The wolves among the flock. Now, a warning. Because the moment you understand there is a herd, you have to understand there are also wolves. The flock is not just being led, the flock is being hunted. And the wolves have learned over a very long time exactly how a sheep behaves. So they can dress up as one, walk right into the middle of the flock, and feed. The wolves are the ones who smell weakness. They smell desperation. When you want something too badly, money, love, approval, rescue, escape, something changes in the way you move. and they catch that scent from a mile away. Because a desperate creature stops asking hard questions, and a creature that stops asking hard questions is prey. Watch how they hunt. They almost never look like a threat. The wolf looks like exactly the thing you were desperate for. It shows up as easy money right when you're drowning. It shows up as sudden affection right when you are lonely. It shows up as the perfect opportunity, the perfect friend, the perfect answer, arriving precisely when you are most vulnerable, offering precisely what you ache for. And here is the master tell. When something matches your exact desperation, at the exact moment you are most desperate, that is not luck. That is a trap built to your measurements. They get you talking. They ask about your problems, your wants, your fears, and it feels like connection. So you open up, you hand them the whole map of where you are weak. And you are grateful, because you mistook an interrogation for interest. Then they build the trap to fit the map you handed them, and they take everything. So how do you protect yourself? You do the one thing the sheep can never do. You manage your own desperation. You slow down. You remind yourself that no single thing, no person, no opportunity, no rescue is worth abandoning your judgment to get. The creature that can walk away is never prey. Cultivate the power to walk away from anything, and the scent disappears and the wolves move on to easier meat. And stop handing strangers the map. Guard your weaknesses. When someone you barely know starts probing all your soft spots, let a quiet alarm sound. Give them nothing to build a trap around. The wolves are always out there. That will never change. Your job is not to pretend they don't exist. Your job is to make sure that when they come sniffing, there is no blood on you to smell. The awake are hard to hunt. The asleep get eaten. Wake up. Chapter 6. Leave the flock. At some point, if you actually do this, you are going to have to leave. Not physically, necessarily, but you are going to step out of line. You are going to hold a belief the group does not share. You are going to make a choice they do not understand. And the moment you do, you will feel it, the cold that comes over the herd when one of its own stops following. Understand this now, so it does not break you later. That cold is not a sign that you are wrong. It is the price of stepping out of line, and it comes for everyone who ever does it. The group punishes the one who leaves, not always loudly, sometimes just with distance, with a chill, with the quiet sense that you have become foreign to people who used to be yours. Expect it, and do not let it drag you back. Because some of the people around you were never going to celebrate your growth. Your rise makes them feel their own standstill, and rather than climb, they would rather you sink back down to where they are. They will smile to your face and hope, quietly, that you fail. If you make your freedom depend on their approval, you have just handed your future to the exact people who do not want you to have one. Learn to stand alone, not because you hate people, because you refuse to be owned by them. There's a strength that only exists in the person who can be at peace without an audience, who can do the right thing when no one is watching and no one is clapping, who does not need the herd to confirm they exist. That person cannot be controlled, because the one weapon the world uses on everyone, approval, given and taken away, has no power over them anymore. And protect your fire once you're out. Guard your energy like the finite resource it is. Watch who lifts you and who drains you, and adjust how close they get. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your attention, and your spirit, least of all the ones who only ever pull you back toward the flock. Then be patient. This is the part nobody wants to hear. You cannot rush this. Becoming your own person is not a moment. It is a road, and the road is long. and there are no shortcuts on it. The herd is instant. Freedom takes time. You build it in the quiet, through failure, through small wins nobody sees day after day, until one morning you look up and realize you no longer feel the pull of the bell at all. Leaving the flock is lonely at first, but it is the only place you are ever going to find yourself. Chapter 7. Become ungovernable. So here is where it all leads. There's a version of you that cannot be herded, that cannot be sold, cannot be scared, cannot be shamed back into line. A version of you so rooted in who you are that the crowd can push all day and never move you off your center. That is not a fantasy. That is just you, awake. And everything we have talked about was building toward it. You know your own mind now because you built a code and put your beliefs on trial. You decide for yourself because you refuse to hand the pen to anyone else. You can feel the levers when they are pulled. The guilt, the fear, the belonging, the flattery, and you no longer obey them like they are the truth. You can spot the wolves before they feed. You can stand alone without falling apart. And you have your mind back from the machine that was farming it. That is a person the world cannot run its algorithm on anymore. Do not confuse this with being cold or closed or stubborn. The strongest person is not the one who never bends. A dead branch never bends, and the first real storm snaps it in half. The strongest person is like a deep-rooted tree. It moves with every wind, it listens, it grows. It changes its mind when the truth changes. But it is never, ever moved off its roots, because its roots are underground where the wind can't reach. That is the goal. Rooted, not rigid. Open but not for sale. Kind but never captured. You can love people and still keep your lines. You can listen to everyone and still decide for yourself. You can walk among the flock without ever again becoming one of them. So this is the choice, and it is the only one that has ever really mattered. You can go back to sleep. You can rejoin the herd, follow the bell, want what you're told to want, and let the days blur into a life that was never actually yours. It is warm there. It is easy there. And a part of you will always know you settled. Or you can stay awake. You can be the one who thinks for himself, decides for himself, stands for himself, and answers to no one but the person you were built to be. The world has every advantage: speed, scale, and 1,000 years of practice at turning people into followers. It has exactly one weakness: a single person who has decided, all the way down, to belong to themselves. Be that person. Starting now. Don't be the sheep. Be the one the sheep will never understand. And walk your own road home.